for you. This man, he's right there, has found something more precious than a diamond. Find out what Rudy Warner's discovery is right now. Let's go meet him. Rudy, thanks for joining us. Rudy, welcome to Anything is Possible.
Thank you for having me, Harold.
You made a couple of big decisions almost 30 years ago. 28 years ago, you decided to start a business.
Right.
27 years ago, you decided to start a life. And in my intro, I said you discovered that there's something more precious than a diamond. You were telling me that rubies are more precious than diamonds. And that's where I want to start with your story. How did you find out that a ruby is more precious than a diamond?
Well, first of all, that ruby, my wife, which is, her name is Ruby, I'm Rudy, and I guess when we met, when I first met her, it was just, you know, it was just something about her. I guess you know, when we discussed a few, one of the, I guess the main thing when I first met her, and I asked her a question. I said, "Can I see you tomorrow?" And she said, "Sure." And I say, "Where can I see you at?" She said, "I'll be in church."
Wow.
And that next day, I was sitting in church with her, and it's been history ever since then.
Let me ask you this, because when we were talking prior to doing this interview, you said, you know what, I've accomplished a lot of things, and we're going to talk about that, but you said the most significant thing that happened in my life was getting married to Ruby. What has this woman meant to you such that you would define that as the greatest success of your successes? Well,
first of all, she's a lady that she loves, first of all, helping people. My wife, she's been with the school system for the past, close to 20 years. She works at West High School. She's a sign language interpreter for the deaf, and she enjoys her work. Helping people.
Well, let's talk about your life. I'm going to say one word, and I want you to give me the immediate reaction you have to this word. Phosphate.
Florida, Polk County, Central Florida.
Central Florida.
Central Florida. Phosphate industry. Personally, we grew up in the phosphate industry. My mom, my dad, my uncles, my cousin, they all worked in the phosphate industry. And in Central Florida, it's not like the coal industry, because the coal, you know, you dig it underground. Phosphate, they dig into the ground, but you're not going underground.
Right, you're on the surface.
On the surface. And
it's hard work?
Hard work, hard work. Personally, I started working in phosphate when I was in 8th grade.
8th grade?
8th grade.
So you must have been 14 years old or so?
14, 15 years old. And because it was a well life down there. Not only that, it was a good living. You know, the phosphate industry paid well. And it's still going on now. It has, over the years, the phosphate industry went down.
Right.
But there's still, when I go back home, a lot of my friends, my relatives, they're in the phosphate industry.
So you grew up working?
Yes, sir.
Did you grow up rich?
No, sir. No, sir. Matter of fact, growing up, all I knew was work, you know. When we talk about the phosphate industry, not only that, in Central Florida, we got orange groves.
Right.
Watermelon patches,
right.
Tomatoes, and we used to do all that. You know, when we go to school, we used to come home from school, we go out and work in the tomato patch just for a few hours to get make 50 cents to make $1, and that was a long ways back then. Yeah, $1 could carry a long ways back then. But I just like anything else, I guess growing up, we seen a lot of people that did well in the phosphate industry.
Right. So you watched your parents, and I guess you watched them work, and you realized that you know, maybe the centerpiece of creating a life where you could provide for yourself and your family was hard work.
Exactly.
Right, and so that was just in your blood.
Exactly.
What kind of man was your father?
My dad was a man that matter of fact, he was born and raised in Georgia, and I can remember him saying many a times that he worked in the cotton fields, sometime making a dime a day, a quarter a day, and you know, that was kind of hard to, you know, when you think about it, you know, a quarter a day, 50 cents a day, that, you know, it's not a whole lot of money, but back then that was a lot of money. But he moved to Florida, Central Florida, and my mom and him got married and raised 4 kids. And matter of fact, my mom was one of the first ladies to ever work in the phosphate industry. And she worked, and by looking at her, I can remember she's living there still in Florida. My mom is 76 years old. And
was she tight on a dollar?
Oh man, tight was the word, you know. But she knew how to save, and I can remember one of her philosophies. She always said, if you would do the 80-10-10, anything you can do in life, I mean, everything will be paid for you, and that was give God 10, save 10, and spend the 80, and more I was brought up on that principle, and the more I used to think about it, and give God 10, save 10, and spend the rest. Everything's going to be all right.
All right, when we take a break here, when we come back, I want to talk about you starting a business.
All right.
Because I noticed in your notes that you said you always wanted to work for yourself. I want to find out how you got to the place where you said, I want to work for myself, and then making that decision 28 years ago to start your business. My guest is a man who discovered a ruby is more precious than a diamond. I'm hooking you up. I'm hooking you up. This is Anything is Possible.